What's crackin', everybody? You're back with Mr. Berger. And before we get started here, I want to point a few things out. I made a couple social media links. Find me on Facebook. You can inspect me on Instagram. You can tweet me on Twitter, or you can rage at me on Reddit. And take a look at this. Clash with Ash replied to one of my comments on his videos and commented on one of my videos, said he turned on notifications. Look at this. Look at this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it! If you're new to the channel, click on that little burger down there to subscribe. And now, on to tonight's video. So in tonight's video, we're going to be taking a look at this Golem Double Prince freeze deck. That's right, we're getting icy in here with this freeze spell in a Golem Double Prince deck. It's going to be really interesting. In fact, it is really interesting, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Now, if you want more tips on how to play this Golem Double Prince archetype, which is very popular in the meta right now, then you can go ahead and take a look at one of my previous videos where I talk about the Golem Double Prince deck. It's a slightly different variation of this deck. But tonight we're going to look at it with the freeze in there. I think the other spell in the previous deck was a tornado, if I'm not mistaken, and I have seen some people run this deck with a rocket, especially in the place of the pump, actually. So anyway, let's take a look at what we got here. Well, we got the cycle card, the ultimate cycle card, which is the Ice Spirit, one of my favorite cards in the game right now. We got the Mega Minion, you know, good air damage. Elixir Pump because it's a heavy deck. And then you got the synergy of the two princes. You got the super tank of the Golem, and of course that combos really well with the Elixir Pump. And the Baby Dragon, you know, that just is extra support. And then you got that freeze spell. Now it's really interesting because it makes you wonder, where does this freeze spell fit in this really heavy beatdown deck? Well, it comes in clutch quite a few times in these replays here, and you'll see. And there's a few things I want to mention about this, and then I'm just going to jump into talking about the replays. So, because of the fact that it's such a heavy deck, you can get this really massive push going, and then just to ensure the victory, or that one crown win, you freeze their tower and as many of their support troops. You catch them off guard with it. So you'll see, oftentimes, I only use the freeze like 2 or 3 times in a match, if not only once. And that's because you don't really want to even show them that you have the freeze. You really want to catch them off guard. You want to get up this massive push, especially with like the Golem, right? The Golem and the Double Princes behind him. You got the Baby Dragon in the air. You even got the Mega Minion that combos really well with him. And then all of a sudden you freeze all their troops, catch them off guard like that, and you just push through and annihilate them. Now, of course, you do want to take advantage of the Elixir Pump if possible. So try to build up an Elixir lead, and then you can jump into building up a big push. You'll often see that I don't use the Golem until later in the match, if not until double Elixir time. So let's jump into another replay here. So you'll notice that because of the fact that you kind of go for this surprise big push towards the end of the match, you're generally going to win these matches with a 1 crown lead, which is something that's kind of unusual when it comes to Golem decks. Because you think of Golem decks, you think of like this big massive beatdown push, just going in and smashing them down with, like, you know, massive support behind them, this unstoppable wave of forces. And you think, okay, I'm going to get 3 crowns. There's nothing they can do. I'll lose a tower. I don't care, man. I'll lose the tower because I'm going to take their king tower. And that's how a lot of these Golem decks are played, especially the Golem Double Prince, right? So this is a little bit different, because although it does have the potential to do that, the idea behind this deck is kind of to play defensively, you know, with the power of your Double Prince. And I'm sure the princes are going to get nerfed in this upcoming update. But man, they're so strong right now in the current meta. So you take the advantage of that. You take advantage of that. And you have the potential to play this massive defense, build up an Elixir lead with pumps, and then go for this huge push, freeze them, and win with 1 crown. So you'll often win in sudden death, especially if you're playing this in challenges, because you'll get the chance to play defensively, get the big push in, freeze them, and win the game. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into some matches here and talk about what I'm doing and the decision making that I do. So at this point, I've got the Elixir advantage. I know that he uses Rocket, so I decide I'll just Golem because I have the Elixir advantage from the other pump. Although it looks like he has a little bit more. He Golems right at the bridge there. Now he's got way less than me, so it looks like I got plenty extra to support. Now one thing you will notice about this deck is that it does not have any heavy spell. In fact, the only spell that it has is Freeze. So it doesn't have any offensive damage spells, so there's nothing to finish off the tower if you need to. But the idea behind this deck is that you won't need that, right? You're going for this huge push, and you're going to get them with the Freeze spell, catch them off guard, and you don't need to finish off a tower with a poison or a rocket or even like a zap or a log, because you're going to get that massive push in and just win when the time is right. So here we can see that I'm pumping up again. I opt to use the extra elixir to put a golem down. You'll see that he's putting his golem a little bit, like, not exactly right behind his king tower. He's putting a little bit more forward, I think, to try to match with my golem a little bit. But ideally he would place his further back so that mine crosses into his territory first, and then I take more damage. Now here, look at the damage of that double prince. He rockets the princes, and he tries to tornado everything together, but unfortunately he tornadoes a little bit late. Maybe he didn't have quite enough elixir there, I didn't see. And anyway, it just wasn't, it didn't work out too well for him, so he didn't finish them off. And plus, you know, the Dark Prince, if he had his shield up, he'll survive a rocket. He'll survive anything there. So you can see, even though all my support units were on defense there, the Golem was able to push through and win the match for me. Now this is an interesting deck that I went up against. It's kind of like a Prince bait deck, something like that. So let's see what I decide to do. Well, it's kind of unfortunate because as a big beatdown deck, you generally want to have the Elixir Pump in hand early on. And it looks like it's one of my last cards in cycle here. So I open with the Dark Prince because he's a cheap cost card, and he will provide me some potential defense, and he'll provide some threat that the opponent will have to answer as well. I go ahead and I use the Baby Dragon next, because it's also my cheapest cycle card that I had in hand, and then I use, of course, my cheapest cycle card in the deck, which is the Ice Spirit. And finally, I get the Mega Minion, and right after that, I finally get the Pump. It literally was like it was the last card in hand. So I didn't get a chance to pump early on, which is unfortunate for me, but I'll be able to handle it. We'll see how it goes. So I answer that Royal Ghost, and then the Mega Minion does a good job of shutting down the Inferno Dragon. I just gotta dish out a little bit of DPS on the Inferno Dragon to make sure it doesn't connect to the tower. And there I don't really have to answer those skeletons because the tower will pretty much take care of them. In fact, it completely shuts them down. I do want to put something down for this princess, so I think what I'm going to do is Dark Prince at the bridge, and I'm going to try to smack her down with the Dark Prince's giant mace there. I wouldn't call it a flail, because when I think of a flail, I think of something that's like a ball and a chain, a big spike ball on the end of a chain. So the prince has a lance, I think, and the Dark Prince has a mace. So anyway, if you use your Dark Prince on their Dark Prince or on their prince, he'll absorb the first charge damage with his shield, as he will with anything, and he'll absorb that full charge damage. So an incoming prince can be countered really well with your Dark Prince. And you may see me do that here in this match. And here, see that first swing from the Royal Ghost, although it doesn't do too much damage, it is soaked up by the shield, and it also resets the charge of the Inferno Dragon now, because that was a recent nerf to the Inferno Dragon and Inferno Tower, because they gave a buff to the shield of the Dark Prince and the guards, you know, the shield units like that. So when their shield breaks now, it resets the charge of the Inferno Dragon and the Inferno Tower. Alright, so at this point, I got 2 pumps up. You can see what I'm doing here in this match is I'm opting to pretty much play heavy defense, as I mentioned earlier, get the elixir advantage. I got 2 pumps up now, and now I'm going to go for the big push. He sees that I golemed in the left lane, so I gotta answer everything. He applies a lot of pressure in the right lane, but you know what? I go ahead and answer that with what I got, because I do have a lot of elixir now with those 2 pumps rolling in, and I actually pretty much shut down his push. I'm willing to take a little bit of damage on my tower, not a big deal. He does have an Inferno Dragon for my golem, so that scares me a little bit, but look at that, I freeze. And my freeze not only interrupts the Inferno Dragon, but it prevents it from doing any damage for a little while. And at this point, since I have that elixir advantage and I know it, I'm kind of playing it almost like a bridge spam deck, and you can actually do this because you do have the double prince there, and then you have the air support of the Mega Minion and the Baby Dragon, and then of course the Golem goes in to tank for all of them, and those 2 princes charge in and finish up the job. Now I'm really excited to show this match. It was a really awesome, intense one. I know I've said this before, but sometimes I'm playing this game, and honestly, I swear guys, I play it best sometimes when I'm at the gym, I'm running on the treadmill, and, well, actually, what I'll do is I'll run for like 2 minutes, and then I'll walk for like a minute, and then I'll go for like an incline for 2 minutes. So in that like minute walk and 2 minute incline walk, I'll be playing a match of Clash Royale. And it kind of, you know, keeps my heart rate up, keeps me in the game, keeps my brain working well, and gets me to play better sometimes, I think. So whatever works for you, that's just my personal little thing that I do. So anyway, I was at the gym and I was running on the treadmill, and I was doing this match. And I remember this is a really intense match. It's against 3 Musketeers, and there was a lot of moments that really kind of got the blood pumping if it wasn't pumping enough already, right? So let's see what I do here. He does a good job of actually countering and using the, what is it, the Battle Ram is the full name? I just call it the Ram, but the Battle Ram is a defensive card, and he uses it to kite my prince away a little bit. I have to answer the minion horde, of course, so I just use my Mega Minion. He'll one-shot each of the minions and does a good job of shutting them down before they can get to my tower. At this point, I'm trying to pump up, of course, because you want to make sure that you have these pumps going. You want to get that elixir advantage. Of course, he has a pump too, so this is really interesting, because he's got the pump, he's got the 3 Musketeers, and then I've just got, what is it, the double princes. But I got a few things to shut down those Musketeers, so generally what I want to do is wait until they get to the bridge, and then use my princes, my prince and my dark prince, to shut down the Musketeers. And he'll put a tank in front of them. He's running Golem, Giant, and Battle Ram. And look at this, he puts all 3 Musketeers together, but they actually do split lane. He puts them right in the center there, but all the way up near the bridge. So I use a Mega Minion to counter one, and that'll completely shut down the 1 Musketeer. My Baby Dragon and the Prince counter the other. The Mega Minion actually does some damage to the Battle Ram and finishes it off. And then, of course, I have to use the Dark Prince to defend against those Barbarians because I don't want to take any extra damage. Now, it looks like neither of us have a really heavy spell in our deck, unless I'm mistaken. I know that I sure don't, right? I'll take a look at this deck here in a moment. And anyway, that being said, neither of us can really finish off each other's pumps, because that's generally what you want to do, is use your Fireball, your Poison, your Rocket, or your Lightning on the opponent's Elixir pump, so that they can't gain that Elixir advantage, because that's what really allows these heavy decks to shine. Look what I do here. I actually opt to freeze all 3 Musketeers. Look at that Dark Prince. He charges in, smacks all 3 Musketeers, and the cleave of the Baby Dragon, because I caught them all 3 together with the freeze, finishes them off. So that worked out really well. So this is a really cool deck because you see some really unusual interactions. I thought that was really cool because that's something that I don't see a whole lot. He's putting a lot of pressure on the right here, probably because he saw that I Golemed there, and so what I do is I Baby Dragon to try to finish it off, and I actually have the Ice Spirit in hand, which works out really well because it stops the Battle Ram's charge, and then I have enough Elixir because I have 2 Elixir pumps, and of course it's double Elixir time. I have enough Elixir to get that Dark Prince down. Now I don't have a Tornado or anything to pull in those 3 Musketeers, so I have to answer on the left. Uh-oh, he puts down a Minion Horde and a bunch of bats. So I use my Ice Spirit, and I actually got Baby Dragon in hand. In the meantime, I got a big Golem push going in the right, and I try to bridge spam him a little bit with the double princes, and I got another prince down there. But unfortunately, he's just got too much at the bridge already on defense, and he's using that giant defensively too. I gotta answer that Minion Horde in the left. He's kind of trying to not counter push, but double push in both lanes. Split push is the word that I'm looking for, or the phrase. So anyway, as he's split pushing here, I'm just answering everything. You really got to stay on top of your game when they split push. You got to decide which lane you want to answer and not invest too much Elixir into defending against one lane. Now what I got to do is think about how I'm going to answer these Musketeers every time, because I know that's his major win condition. I have a Golem going in here, so I know that's going to be some really solid damage on the tower. Even if it doesn't do any swing damage, which is very unlikely. I mean, it's gonna get some swing damage in, but even if none of the support gets any swing damage in, the death damage from the Golem and just the regular auto attack swing damage from the Golem is really massive. So what I tried to do there is I tried to freeze to just kind of finish it off with the Golem, but it didn't quite work. So he's at really low health, just over 400, now just over 200, and I'm kind of bridge spamming. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll get the chance to win through bridge spam. Now I don't have any heavy spells, so although that tower only has 137 health left, I don't have anything to finish it off. Look how he uses the Battle Ram defensively again to kite my princes into the other lane, and then the bats chip away at them. That's a really solid damage, guys. Even though they were nerfed recently, it was just a very minor nerf to their attack speed, and just made it so that none of the bats will get any chip damage off in the tower. They still have really solid damage. I would recommend them still in some decks. So here, I freeze everything again. I'm hoping to get the Double Prince's charge damage on the 3 Musketeers. He actually gets 2 of them out, which is really solid, because that's a 6 elixir value, because the 3 Musketeers cost 9 total, right? For my only 4 elixir, so that's a positive elixir trade there. So I decide, okay, how am I going to connect for sure? I'm going to put a golem at the bridge. He puts a giant at the bridge. I'm like, oh, guys, I got to answer this giant, but is my golem going to get there first? Yes, it does, and my golem destroys his tower before his giant destroys mine. And that was a really awesome, epic finish, so great way to finish the video. Alright, guys, thanks so much for watching, and have a good night.